Poppy Playtime just dropped 2 massive trailers for their upcoming game, Project Playtime, and they revealed tons of new stuff about the new game, including a full-blown release date. So recently, as a lot of you guys for sure know, there's been an ARG for Poppy Playtime going on, and it all was supposed to be leading up to this trailer that just released not too long ago. And all I can say is that it looks absolutely insane. The trailer opens up with a shot of Bron the dinosaur sitting there torn apart, similar to the Chapter 3 teaser from a while back, and eventually a grab pack quickly picks up Bron to reveal to us a brand new cast of players. We see a yellow, blue, red, and green version of these guys before we cut to a shot of the green character approaching a torn apart cat bee before he is interrupted by some sudden footsteps in the building, just to turn around and see a small Huggy Wuggy toy laying directly behind him. The character picks up the toy to inspect it before suddenly Huggy Wuggy becomes alive, sporadically shaking around the room until the green character just drops him down and actually begins to step on him, squashing him until he's in literal pieces. It's worth noting here, by the way, that all the scientist characters, by the way, have a Playtime Co patch on the side, which tells us that they actually work for Playtime Co, along with this weird flower image with an eyeball, which back in the ARG was incredibly important to solving different puzzles, which is a really weird touch. Anyway, in fear, the green scientist backs up into a corner before suddenly the original Huggy Wuggy from Chapter 1 picks them up and starts to eat them alive. This then causes the rest of the scientists to back away in fear, and while we can't see much of where they actually are, it's clear they're in an entirely brand new location in the game. Anyway, they all start running in the opposite direction, and in an incredibly intense scene, one of the scientists is able to shut the door and slam it against Huggy behind them. This wouldn't really matter though, because as they enter another new location named the train station, Mommy Longlegs starts to come from behind as well, chasing both of the 2 remaining scientists down, and eventually taking the blue scientist with her, leaving just one more remaining. The final yellow scientist rushes towards the train and quickly shuts it behind them, safely making it to the car. However, they quickly realize they're maybe not so safe after all, because behind them there is what appears to be a never before seen character who we may remember from the ARG is named Boxy Boo. This new Jack-in-the-Box shaped toy slowly begins to wind up behind the scientist, and eventually the sides of him open around him, revealing a full-blown red, terrifying furry body, with a head slowly protruding out, revealing a terrifying pair of teeth. Before then, Boxy Boo grabs the scientist, takes him inside the box, and closes it up to never be seen again. After this, the train finally starts to begin moving, but this is where the trailer ends, as the Project Playtime logo then pops up before giving us the official release date of December 6th, 2022. So that's the cinematic trailer, and it actually looks great. But for the most part, it's a visual representation of everything that could be in the game in the future. And while I haven't dug into any secrets, I'm sure there's something cool to find inside of there. But where is some actual gameplay? Well, if we look on the Project Playtime Steam page, we actually get ourselves not just the cinematic trailer, but an entirely new gameplay trailer that looks like this. The trailer opens up with the character Leith Pierre taking over the intercom system, with a train shooting through the train station like in the cinematic trailer. Leith tells us as the player that we are a resource extraction specialist in the studio, where we will have to collect parts to then create a massive toy somehow. And then we cut to the very first shot in the game that appears to be the entrance to a cinema area. In this area, we could see a massive Huggy statue along with a little piano in the corner, among tons of smaller different things, including even a bronze statue in the left corner. In the next shot, we see ourselves actually playing as the player, giving us the first look into the UI. In the top left corner, it gives us our tasks saying to collect toy parts and find a puzzle pillar. In the middle, it shows us our inventory and our time remaining. At the bottom left, we could see our health. And finally, in the bottom right, we have some sort of weird ability that isn't really listed. In the background of the shot, we could see we are in the cinema once again, and we can even catch a glimpse of the Boxy Boo cardboard cutout peeking out as well, which makes him look a lot more adorable than he clearly is. Anyway, the next scene we see is a toy machine deposit right next to a Boxy Boo, by the way, which is weird. And I could safely assume that this will just be the place where toy parts are put into the game, obviously. Anyway, next up, we see a room with some massive conveyor belt system here, where we could see an eyeball and a bunch of different grabbable locations over here. The next scene shows us a brand new item called the Porta Lounge, which is some sort of employee mental health retreat, or in other words, it's just a big locker we can hide in. We use this to hide from what appears to be Boxy Boo himself, which is a nice mechanic they've added in as well. And the next shot shows what appears to be all of our teammates inside of one room, and we can also see we're playing inside of a third-person view this time, which I can only assume is an option we can play as, which which is nice. The next thing we could see is us actually playing the piano from earlier in the trailer, doing some kind of puzzle or playing some kind of song, whatever it may be. And then the trailer cuts to us once again, but instead this time we are actually playing as the man Huggy Wuggy himself approaching a player. In this scene, we could see 3 of Huggy's abilities in the corner. One being some sort of square, another being his face, and finally another being his hands, which I assume is some sort of kill ability. And we can also see in the top right corner there is a 0 out of 6 toy parts collected objective, which I assume means that throughout the theater in this game, the scientists will have to collect 6 different specific parts to escape. Anyway, next we are shown the reveal of Boxy Boo's actual player model, which like Huggy Wuggy, we can also play as, because if you didn't know, this is a co-op game where one person actually gets to be the monster. We then see an outside model of Huggy Wuggy, and I could be wrong here, but I think Huggy Wuggy is emoting and is doing some sort of dance, which is something I didn't think we'd ever see in an official Poppy Playtime game, but go on. We then see a small shot of Huggy Wuggy chasing the player, who this time actually has golden grab packs, suggesting there's either skins or some sort of upgrades. And this time we're in a new location, being the laundromat, which is weird because it feels like Playtime Co literally has every single room inside of their factory. Anyway, we are then shown Mommy Longlegs, who appears in the next scene to be able to climb and jump down on the player, which is a really nice feature. And in the next scene, we see ourselves actually playing as Boxy Boo, and similar to Huggy, he has his own specific abilities too. One being the same square ability, whatever that is, then a grab ability, and finally a claw ability, which will be used for whatever we don't really know for sure for now. Next, we see another scene in the factory with Mommy Longlegs chasing us, along with even more colored grab packs, this time made out of wood, which is interesting again. We can also see in the corner that the player is dressed like a policeman, so maybe there are character skins for them as well. Anyway, the following scene shows us another new type of grab pack, but this time it seems like they are playing some sort of mini boss, where similar to chapter 2, we are supposed to hit all the mini Huggy Wuggies before they eventually come out to kill us. Anyway, in the next shot, finally we could see Mommy Longlegs' abilities as well while she's crawling above the players. And in this, we can once again see the square ability, along with an E ability with an eyeball icon, and finally a web ability, which I imagine allows us to stick to people or something. Anyway, finally, we see a few final scenes of just the players running around, and we even see ourselves the Boxy Boo official jump scare, which looks nice as well. So wow, this game looks absolutely stunning if I'm being honest. The visuals clearly are a massive work in progress since the UI looks very roughed up, but I imagine those are just placeholders for the future of the game that otherwise I think looks incredible. For some extra insight, we could see in the About page a description that reads, Project Playtime is a free-to-play multiplayer horror game where 6 players attempt to create one giant toy while surviving a terrifying monster that roams the factory. A 7th player controls the monster and is given only one goal: find and kill everybody. And also in this description, it tells us a few extra things about the actual gameplay specifics as well. For example, while 6 players play as the survivors, one character gets to pick between 3 manic monsters: Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, and of course Boxy Boo, all of which with their very own abilities we talked about during the trailer. We can also see that there is a form of in-game currency called toy tickets, and you can apparently even actually set your very own abilities for yourself if you're playing as the survivor, playing as a puzzle master, medic, speed demon, or shadow walker. Not to mention at the bottom, they do confirm to us that there's going to be a cosmetic shop with none other than a battle pass, which we were expecting. But the final piece in the description at the bottom says that the Bigger Bodies Initiative will fail, which is a really weird touch since there's a file in the ARG actually named the Bigger Bodies Initiative, which we were never able to open. This makes me think this was some sort of initiative used to try and expose the factory with a bunch of employees, but for now, I'm not really sure. Anyway, to be honest, this game looks great. It reminds me sort of like Among Us, but instead of finding the imposter, we just have to survive the imposter and use different abilities to escape them. It even more reminds me of other games like Secret Neighbor, which while that may not be the greatest comparison, I still have really high hopes. Otherwise, these trailers look insane, and I'll surely do a follow-up when we find the tons of extra secrets that I'm sure are lurking around in these trailers, so subscribe for that, and peace.